Motorista ang naaktuhan ng karambola ng mga truck sa isang highway sa Mexico.
May nakaligtas naman kaya sa mga driver ng truck ang sitwasyon po sa crash site. Ating silipin mula sa mga detalye na balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong araw ng Biyernes.
Status of Visiting Forces Agreement ng Pilipinas at New Zealand target lagdaan sa ikalawang quarter ng 2025.
Mas maraming BFAR aircraft ang pinadala sa West Philippine Sea para magsagawa ng Domain Maritime Awareness Flight. Pangulong Donald Trump handang magpataw ng 150% na taripa para sa BRICS countries. Halos 7,000 mga empleyado ng Internal Revenue Service mawawalan ng trabaho.
At mga lansangan sa Detroit, Michigan, nagmistulang ice skating rink dahil sa sumabog na water main pipe. We are one step closer. Ito po ang naging pahayag ng Department of National Defense ukol sa Status of Visiting Forces Agreement o SOVFA sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng New Zealand.
Nitong Huwebes ay inihayag ni DND spokesperson Arsenio Andolong na natapos na ang huling round ng pag-uusap para sa nasabing defense deal ng dalawang bansa. Giit ng tagapagsalita, mapapalakas ng SOVFA ang defense at military ties ng Manila at Wellington. Sa bisa kasi ng Visiting Forces deal ay papayagan ng New Zealand Defense Force at Armed Forces of the Philippines na makapagsagawa ng military exercises sa loob ng teritoryo ng isa't isa. Umaasa ang Pilipinas at New Zealand na malalagdaan ng SOVFA sa ikalawang quarter ng 2025.
Nagpadala ng maraming aircraft ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources o BFAR ang Philippine Coast Guard patungo sa West Philippine Sea. Ito po ay kasunod ng ginawang reckless maneuver ng isang Chinese military helicopter sa airspace ng Bajo de Masinloc. Ayon kay PCG spokesperson for the WPS, Commodore J. Tariela, isang Maritime Domain Awareness o MDA flight ang isinagawa sa airspace ng Kalayaan Island Group nitong Huwebes ng umaga. Kabilang sa MDA flight ay 2 BFAR aircraft na galing Puerto Princesa. Dagdag ni Tariela, sa gitna ng operasyon ay namataan ng BFAR aircraft ang isang China Coast Guard vessel na may bow number 5101 at higit sa 50 Chinese maritime militia vessels patungo sa Pag-asa Island at 6 na Chinese ships naman sa Rizal Reef. Inakusahan naman ng China na ang Pilipinas ang nanghimasok sa teritoryo nila na tinatawag nilang Huangyan Dao. Sa kabila po nito ay pinag-aaralan na rin ng Pilipinas na maghain ng panibagong diplomatic protest dahil sa helicopter incident sa Bajo de Masinloc.
Hinirang ng Department of Tourism si South Korean actor Seo In-guk bilang Philippine Tourism Ambassador para sa Korea. Bilang Philippine Tourism Ambassador sa Korea, handa si Seo In-guk na dalhin ang kanyang fans sa isang hindi malilimutang trip sa mga naggagandahang mga isla at lugar sa Pilipinas. Nakilala si Seo In-guk sa mga K-drama kagaya ng Love Rain noong 2012 at mas lalo pang nakilala sa TV series niyang Reply 1997 taong 2012 din. Ilan rin sa mga TV series niya ay ang Master's Son noong 2013, High School King of Savvy 2014 at The King's Face noong 2014 din. Samantala, nakahanda na rin ang susunod nitong proyekto na isang highly anticipated series drama na Boyfriend on Demand, makakasama ng Korean actor si Blackpink Jisoo. Ayon sa ahensya, ang hakbang na ito ay tulay umano sa pagpapaunlad ng turismo sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng South Korea.
Inatasan ng Korte Suprema ang Office of the Executive Secretary, ang Senado at ang House of Representatives na magsumite ng orihinal na kopya ng 2025 General Appropriations Act o GAA, pati na ang enrolled bill nito. Sa isang advisory, dapat ay maisumite ang mga nasabing dokumento ng hindi lalampas ng alas 12 ng tanghali ng February 24. Nagugat ito sa petisyon na inihain ni dating Executive Secretary Victor Rodriguez at iba pang kaalyado ni former President Rodrigo Duterte na kumikwestiyon sa legalidad ng 2025 GAA. Itinakda rin ng Korte Suprema ang oral arguments para sa petisyon sa April 1, habang ang preliminary conference naman ay gagawin sa February 28.
Umaabot na po sa 2,127 ang kabuuang kaso ng dengue na naitala ng lungsod ng Quezon. Batay sa record ng City Epidemiology and Surveillance Division, mula January 1 hanggang February 19, nasa 11 na ang naitalang mga namatay sa dengue sa 10 barangay sa lungsod. Sa harap nito, muling hinikayat ng city government ang publiko na gawin ang search and destroy at cleanup drive sa mga komunidad upang tuluyang sirain ang mga breeding grounds ng lamok na may dalang dengue. Patuloy rin ang paalala ng lokal na pamahalaan na agad magpakonsulta sa pinakamalapit na health center o ospital kung nakararanas ng mga sintomas ng naturang sakit. Ilan sa mga sintomas ng dengue ay ang paglalagnat, pananakit ng tiyan at ulo, pagsusuka, pamamantala at pagdurugo ng ilong.
Asahan na po ang dagdag bawas sa presyo ng produktong petrolyo sa susunod na linggo. Batay sa oil industry sources, nasa 40 up to 70 centavos ang maaaring maging dagdag sa presyo sa kada litro ng gasolina. 10 hanggang 20 centimos ang inaasahang bawas naman sa presyo sa kada litro ng diesel, habang 10 centimos ang posibleng taas sa kada litro ng kerosene o gaas kung mayroon mang pagkilos sa presyo nito.
Susunod, US President Donald Trump nagbantang magtataas ng taripa sa BRICS countries.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at General Keith Kellogg nagkita na sa Kyiv.
At Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu nangakong pagbabayarin ang Hamas. Magpapatuloy pa rin po ang balitaan pagbalik ng mata ng Agila International.
Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba, sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Enero 28, nagpasya ang Bulletin of Atomic Scientists na iusog sa 89 seconds to midnight ang tinatawag nilang doomsday clock.
In setting the clock closer to midnight, we send a stark signal. Because the world is already perilously close to the precipice, any move towards midnight should be taken as an indication of extreme danger and an unmistakable warning. Every second of delay in reversing course increases the probability of global disaster.
Ngunit bago ang lahat ay isa munang paglilinaw. Ang paggalaw ng nasabing orasan ay hindi nangangahulugang nalalapit na ang katapusan ng mundo. Sa halip ay paglalarawan lamang ito sa panganib na dala ng man-made catastrophe na maaaring magmula sa digmaang nuklear, mga di pangkaraniwang climate emergency at iba pang mga salik o factors.
The countries that possess nuclear weapons are increasing the size and role of their arsenals, investing hundreds of billions of dollars in weapons that can destroy civilization many times over. Meanwhile, arms control treaties are in tatters, and there are active conflicts involving nuclear powers. The world's attempts to deal with climate change remain inadequate, as most governments fail to enact the financing and policy initiatives necessary to halt global warming.
Ang paggalaw ng doomsday clock ngayong panimula ng taong 2025 ay bunsod ng nagpapatuloy na digmaan sa pagitan ng Russia at Ukraine. Kung saan makailang ulit na nagbanta ang Russia na gagamit ng sandatang nuklear kung magpapatuloy ang Estados Unidos at mga bansang kasama sa European Union sa pagpapadala ng armas para tulungan ang Ukraine. Kasama rin sa dahilan ng paggalaw ang krisis sa gitnang silangan, partikular ang digmaan sa pagitan ng Israel at ng Axis of Resistance na kinabibilangan ng Iran, ng Hezbollah, Hamas at Houthi. Ang patuloy na paglaganap ng sandatahang nuklear dahil sa mga testing ng North Korea at pag-urong ng Russia at Amerika sa mga naunang kasunduan para sa pagbawas ng kanilang arsenal. Kaakibat pa ang epekto ng climate change, halimbawa na ang wildfires na kumalat sa California sa kabila ng snowstorm na nararanasan naman sa East Coast. Ang apat na magkakasunod na bagyong nanalasa sa Pilipinas noong mga huling buwan ng 2024 at mga biological threats kagaya ng COVID-19 at Mpox. Pagdating naman sa banta ng advancing technologies, nagbabala si dating US President Joe Biden sa kanyang huling talumpati tungkol sa banta na pwedeng idulot ng artificial intelligence. Ngunit nilinaw niya na dapat manguna pa rin ang Amerika sa AI sa halip na ang China. Kailan lamang ay naglunsad ng sarili nitong chatbot na tinawag naman itong DeepSeek.
Americans are being buried under an avalanche of misinformation and disinformation, enabling the abuse of power. The free press is crumbling. Editors are disappearing. Social media is giving up on fact-checking. The truth is smothered by lies told for power and for profit. We must hold the social platforms accountable to protect our children, our families, and our very democracy from the abuse of power. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is the most consequential technology of our time, perhaps of all time. Nothing offers more profound possibilities and risks for our economy and our security, our society, for humanity. Artificial intelligence even has the potential to help us answer my call to end cancer as we know it. But unless safeguards are in place, AI could spawn new threats to our rights, our way of life, to our privacy, how we work and how we protect our nation. We must make sure AI is safe and trustworthy and good for all humankind.
Samantala, nang makabalik naman sa White House si US President Donald Trump para sa kanyang ikalawang termino, pinagtibay niya ang isang panukala upang mamuhunan ng $500 bilyong para sa artificial intelligence ang Amerika.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Ang doomsday clock ay binuo noong taong 1947 sa kasagsagan ng Cold War at nagsisilbi bilang isang metaphor. At hindi prediksyon kundi isang indikasyon ng pagpapatuloy ng mga nakaambang panganib sa sangkatauhan na kasabay ng pag-usad sa agham at teknolohiya. Nagkaroon na ito ng 25 beses na paggalaw. Mula 2018 ay nagkasunod-sunod na ang mabilis na paggalaw ng orasan papalapit sa midnight. Noong taong iyon, gumalaw sa 2 minutes to midnight ang naturang orasan dahil sa pag-urong ng Estados Unidos sa Paris Climate Accord at pag-abandona nito sa pangunguna sa decarbonization, pati na ang pagkala sa Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action na naglalayon sanang limitahan ang kakayahan ng Iran na makabuo ng nuclear weapons, maging ang banta ng cyber warfare at artificial intelligence o AI. Huling nalagay sa 2 minutes ang orasan noong 1953 matapos ang pagpapasabog ng Estados Unidos ng thermonuclear device noong November 1952 na sinundan naman ng Soviet Union noong Agosto ng parehong taon. Noong 2020, muli pang gumalaw ang orasan sa 100 seconds dahil sa lumalalang tensyon sa pagitan ng Estados Unidos at Iran na ibinunga ng pagkakapatay kay Qasem Soleimani na general ng Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps at hindi pag-renew sa Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty na nilagdaan ng Estados Unidos at ng nooy Soviet Union taong 1987. Wala namang paggalaw noong taong 2021 at 2022. Pero pagdating ng 2023, nalagay ang orasan sa 90 seconds dahil sa pangamba ng nuclear escalation bunsod ng pagsalaki ng Russia sa Ukraine, maging sa pagsuspinde nito sa partisipasyon sa New START Treaty na nilagdaan nila kasama ang Estados Unidos taong 2010 at sa pagkubkob ng Russia sa mga nuclear power plant sa Chernobyl at Zaporizhia sa Ukraine. Dagdag pa riyan ang nuclear tests ng North Korea at ang banta ng COVID-19 pandemic. Sa kabila ng patong-patong na mga problemang kinakaharap ngayon, ang mundo nilinaw ng atomic scientists na hindi pa huli ang lahat. Paliwanag ng Professor Daniel Halls na nasa Science and Security Board ng Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, layo ng Doomsday Clock na hikayatin ang pagsisimula ng pandaigdigang pag-uusap ukol sa mga existential threats at dapat ay simulan na ng mga lider ng iba't ibang bansa na talakayin sa kanilang pag-uusap ang mga bantang ito na para sa kanila ay unang hakbang para sa paatras na paggalaw ng nasabing orasan.
There is hope. I mean, we certainly believe that the clock can be moved back, and there are many actions that can be taken. Our concern is that over the past year, those actions are not being taken. But as you've mentioned, there are many specific things on all the areas that we cover where there could be clear progress. I think for many of the things that seem most alarming from the last week or have gotten so much attention, we're going to wait and see. But we'll continue to monitor over the weeks and months ahead, and if we need to change the clock, we will.
Wika nga nating mga Pilipino, habang may buhay, may pag-asa. Ngunit mahalaga ang bawat araw at walang mas mainam na panahon para tayo umaksyon kundi ngayon na mismo. Dahil ang oras na nasayang ay hindi na natin maibabalik. Pakatandaan, time is gold.
Sa iba pa mga balita, hindi lamang mga overseas Filipino workers ang nabiktima ng mga scam hubs sa Myanmar dahil marami ring Chinese nationals ang na-scam ng mga grupong nagpapatakbo ng nasabing internet fraud centers. Ang mga biktimang Chinese na nakatakas mula sa scam hubs ay pumunta sa Thailand kung saan sila ay tinulungan doon ng mga otoridad. Ayon sa Thai Border Police, 6 na flights ang nakaschedule ngayong Biyernes para ihatid pa uwi ang 600 Chinese nationals sa China. Noong Huwebes naman ay nasa 50 Chinese nationals ang pumunta sa Thailand. Nanggaling anila sila sa Miyawadi, Myanmar, na isang lugar na pinaniniwala ang scam hubs.
Nagbabala si US President Donald Trump sa Brazil, Russia, India, China at South Africa o BRICS. Handaan niya siyang magpataw ng 150% tariff sa BRICS at sa iba pang state members nito dahil sa umano'y pagtatangka ng grupo na sirain o i-devalue ang US dollar.
How about BRICS? You know, the BRIC states, there are like 6 of them, and they were trying to destroy our dollar. They were going to say, you know, they wanted to create a new currency. They probably wanted to use the yuan, China. They wanted to use the yuan. And Biden said, well, this is a tough situation. There's not much we can do about that. We can't help that. I said, oh, we can help it. So when I came in, the first thing I said is any BRIC state that even mentions the destruction of the dollar will be charged a 150% tariff. And we don't want your goods, we don't want to partake. And the BRIC states just broke up. I don't know what the hell happened to them. We haven't heard from the BRIC states lately. But he said that wasn't much we could do about it. There was a lot. It took once, literally. They said, sir, what about the BRIC states? They're going to take over the dollar, the sanctity of the dollar. They're going to create a new currency to rule the world. I said, no, they're not. They said, yes, they are, sir. They said it. I said, no, they're not. Tell them 150% tariff, plus we're not going to do business with them. And that includes China.
Noong Biden administration ay paulit-ulit na sinabi ng BRICS na gagawa sila ng bago at common currency para pangunahan ang kalakalan sa buong mundo. Pero ngayong nakaupo na sa White House si Trump ay biglang sinabi ng Brazil na hindi na raw matutuloy ang BRICS currency dahil wala naman daw technical discussions ukol dito. Ang pahayag na ito ng Brazil ay hindi pa malinaw kung may koneksyon sa unang babala noon ni Trump tungkol sa US dollar supremacy. Samantala, formal nang humingi ang South Korea at ang Japan ng exemption sa Trump tariffs.
Nagrally ang mga taga-suporta ni impeached South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol sa unang araw ng pagdinig sa kasong kriminal nito. Giit ng mga Yoon supporters, dapat ikansela na ang criminal trial dahil illegal umano ito. Hindi rin nagustuhan ng iba ang umano'y pag-iwan sa ere ng People Power Party kay Yoon. Hiling ng grupo na ibalik na sa pagkapangulo ang na-impeach nilang presidente.
대한민국의 법이 살아있는 한 윤석열 대통령은 당장 구속이 취소되어야 하고 형사재판도 불법이기 때문에 취소되어야만 합니다.
Kaugnay nito, formal nang gumagawa ng case build-up ang South Korean police laban kay Yoon dahil sa mga aligasyon na hinadlangan umano nito ang pagpapatupad ng warrant of arrest sa kanya. Depensa naman ang company Yoon ay politically motivated daw ang pag-aresto sa dating leader ng South Korea. Invalid din nila ang pagsisilbi ng warrant dahil may mga pagkakamali sa isinagawang investigasyon.
Nagkita sa Kiev noong Miyerkules sina Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at si US Envoy Keith Kellogg, subalit biglang kinansela ang press conference ng dalawang opisyal. Si Rosel Feria para sa report.
Ayon sa tanggapan ni Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, hiniling ng Estados Unidos na ikansela ang magkasama-sanang press conference ng Pangulo at ni US Envoy for the Ukraine War na si Keith Kellogg. Samantala, sinabi ni Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha na pinag-usapan nila ni Kellogg ang mga paraan upang makamit ang makatarungan at pangmatagalang kapayapaan. Sinabi ni Zelensky na umaasa ito sa pagkakaisa sa Ukraine at sa Europe. Gayon din sa pagiging praktikal at makatotohanan ng Washington, isang pahayag ng pagpapakalma matapos itong tila hayagang sermonan ni US President Donald Trump. Noong Miyerkules, sinabi kasi ni Trump na isang diktador si Zelensky at nakailangang umaksyon agad nito upang tiyakin ang kapayapaan, kundi ay mawawalan ito ng bansa. Sinabi ni Zelensky sa Ukraine na mahalagang ang pagpupulong kay Kellogg at kooperasyon sa Washington ay makatulong. Kamakailan tinanggihan ng Ukraine ang paon ng plano ng US ukol sa pagwawakas ng labanan. Ayon sa Ukraine, wala sa kasunduan ang garantiyang pangseguridad. Inakusahan din ni Zelensky si Trump ng pag-uulit na maling impormasyon ukol sa gera. Hanap ni Trump na makipag-ugnayang muli sa Russia at mag-invest sa Ukraine minerals na kailangan sa transisyon sa enerhiya. Rosel Feria para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nang tanungin naman si US House Speaker Mike Johnson kung sakaling magpapatuloy ang digmaan sa pagitan ng Kyiv at Moscow, ay magkakaroon ba ng panibagong funding bill para sa Ukraine? Ang sagot niya, no appetite for another Ukraine funding bill. Hindi naman nagustuhan ng ilang miyembro ng audience ang sagot na ito ni House Speaker Johnson. Subalit, nanindigan ng US official na dapat nang tapusin ang Ukraine war.
Look, there's no appetite for that. What do you think? No. Yeah.
Got our answer there?
We have to bring it to an end. And I can tell you that our European allies understand the necessity of this as well. It's drug on too long. By some estimates, Russia's lost almost 700,000 troops, maybe more. The Ukrainians have suffered great losses. We have to bring an end to the conflict. President Trump is exactly right. It's time for it to end, and he is the brute force, I think, that can make that happen.
Matapos ang isang closed-door meeting ng G20 diplomats, nagpasya si British Foreign Minister David Lammy na dapat ay may security guarantees para sa Ukraine. Binigyan diin ni Lammy na ang puso ng mga negosyasyong pangkapayapaan ay para sa pagtataguyod ng Ukraine.
We have not got anywhere near a negotiated settlement. And I have to say, when I listen to what the Russians and what Lavrov has just said in the chamber this afternoon, I don't see an appetite to really get to that peace. And that peace could be achieved by leaving Ukraine tomorrow, just going. And letting people get on with their lives and letting them have their sovereignty. We look forward to speaking to President Trump more about this. We're very, very clear. There must be a role for Ukraine. It must be at the heart of these negotiations. Of course they want peace, but they will need security guarantees.
Inamin din ng opisyal na isang kritikal na sandali at mahalaga para sa Europa na taasan ang kanilang defense spending upang palakasin ang kanilang depensa sa buong kontinente. Kinumpirma ni White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt na magkikita sina US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron at British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Inaasahang tatalakayin ng tatlong lider ang tungkol sa peace talks ng Ukraine at Russia war. Sinabi na ni Starmer na nagkamali si Trump nang tawagin itong isang diktador si Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Nangako naman si Macron na kukumbinsihin niya si Trump na suportahan ang Kyiv. May ilan ding political analysts na baka mapag-usapan din ang tungkol sa Trump tariffs. Lalo na at nagbabala si Trump na hindi ligtas ang European Union dito.
Sa Estados Unidos, 7,000 empleyado ng IRS ang sisibakin ng ahensya bilang tugon sa bawas gastos sa gobyerno na inilunsad ni Pangulong Donald Trump gamit pa rin ang Department of Government Efficiency. Ang ahensya ay pinamumunuan ng bilyonaryong si Elon Musk. Jane Kathleen Gregorio po para sa mga karagdagang detalye.
Sa isang hakbang na sisibak sa 6% ng workforce sa Internal Revenue Service o IRS, 7,000 empleyado ang mawawala ng trabaho. Ito ay ilang linggo bago ang critical na panahon ng pagpa-file ng tax sa bansa. Kasama sa mga target ng bawas gastos sa gobyerno ni Pangulong Donald Trump ay ang bank regulators, forest workers, rocket scientists at libo-libong empleyado ng pamahalaan. Ang aksyong ito ay pinatutupad ni Elon Musk, ang pinakamalaking campaign donors ni Trump. Ang pagsibak sa IRS ay direktang makaapekto sa mga empleyado ng ahensya na bahagi ng expansion ni dating Pangulong Joe Biden. Binalak kasi ni Biden na higpitan ang mayayamang taxpayers. Sa kasalukuyan na sa 100,000 na ang mga empleyado ng ahensya na dati nasa 80,000 lamang bago naging Pangulo si Biden. Ayon sa budget analyst, ang expansion na ito ay makatutulong sana sa itaas ang revenue ng gobyerno at pakitiran ang trillion-dollar budget deficits. Subalit para sa maraming Republicans, ang expansion ay magdudulot lamang ng harassment sa ordinaryong taxpayers. Ang mga empleyadong sisibakin ay ang mga nasa probationary period at may mas kaunting protection kumpara sa career employees. Jane Kathleen Gregorio para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Binantaan ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu na ito ay gaganti sa Hamas matapos ang pagpapasakamay nila sa mga nasawing bihag. Kabilang sa 4 na nasawing bihag na ipinasakamay ng Hamas ay ang sanggol at kapatid nitong 4 na taong gulang sa kanilang dinukot noong October 7, 2023. Dagdag pa ni Netanyahu na kanilang gagantihan ng Hamas dahil sa lubhang nadurog ang puso ng mga pamilya ng mga nasawing biktima. Binatikos din ng United Nations Human Rights Chief Volker Turk ang ginawang pagpapasakamay ng Hamas sa mga bangkay dahil ito ay tila ipinarada pa nila habang pinapanood ng mga Palestino. Magugunitang nagpatupad ng ceasefire noong Enero kung saan bahagi sa nasabing usapin ay ang pagpapakawala ng Hamas ng mga bihag nila habang ang Israel naman ay papakawalan din ang mga Palestinong nakukulong sa kanilang bansa.
אחיי ואחיותיי, אזרחי ישראל היקרים, ביום הזה כולנו מאוחדים. כולנו מאוחדים ביגון כבד מנשוא. כל בית בישראל מרכין היום את ראשו. אנחנו מרכינים את ראשנו על האובדן הכבד של 4 חטופינו. כולנו כואבים בכאב שהוא מהול בזעם. כולנו זועמים על מפלצות החמאס. 4 ארונות יקירנו מחייבים אותנו יותר מתמיד להבטיח להישבע שמה שקרה ב7 באוקטובר לא יקרה שוב לעולם. קודמיהם של יקירנו זועק אלינו מן האדמה. הוא מחייב אותנו לבוא חשבון עם המרצחים השפלים, ונבוא איתם חשבון. אל נקמות אדוני, אל נקמות הופיע. הלב שלנו סדוק, אבל הרוח שלנו לא נשברת. ועם הרוח הזאת נחזיר את כל חטופינו, נשמיד את הרוצחים, נחסל את החמאס, ויחד, בעזרת השם, נבטיח את עתידנו.
Susunod, Detroit suburb nagmistulang ice skating rink.
China may robot ng atake ng tao.
And Spurs superstar center Victor Wembanyama, tapos na ang NBA season. Mga detalye po ng mga balita niyan at iba pa sa pagbabalik pa rin ng Mata ng Agila International.
Habang busy si Jessica sa pag-iwas sa kanyang mga manliligaw.
Kaya ko nang mag-isa, no?
Kalat na yung chismis tungkol sa inyong dalawa ni Sean. Masaya ka na?
Ano? Magiging target na naman ang alaga niya.
Sinasabi mong gusto mo si Sean, pero may ginagawa ka bang bagay na makakabuti sa kapakanan niya?
Ano na naman bang binabalik nitong si Kylie? Jessica Dugo, bibigyan kita ng malaki at mabigat na dagok. Hello, my shining love. Weeknights, 9.
Take a broader perspective, focusing not just on the awards, but on the thought behind staging awards. Dr. Ronel Ibanez, founder of Asia's Golden Icon Awards, takes us behind the scenes on award events as he talks about his leadership, philanthropy, and iconic mission in recognizing leaders.
We are committed to give back to our community. From the real estate to the award-giving body, all of this, part of the proceeds of that goes to the foundation.
Open for business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Nagbabalik ang mata ng Agila International at sa pagpapatuloy po ng ating mga balita ngayong gabi. Huli sa dashcam ng isang motorista ang karambola ng 5 truck sa isang highway sa Mexico kung saan 4 na individual ang namatay sa insidente. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nagsimula ang lahat ng salpukan ng 2 truck. Nadamay na lamang ang 3 iba pang trucks matapos sumabog ang fuel tank ng isa sa mga ito. May nakaligtas naman na 4 na katao, subalit nahirapan ang mga rescuers na sakluluhan sila dahil hirap silang apulahin ang apoy. Anila, maraming kargang langis ang fuel tank na sumabog. Nagsagawa na ng criminal investigation ng pulisya para alamin ang sanhi ng aksidente.
Nagmistula ng mga ice rink ang maraming kalsada sa Detroit, Michigan matapos sumabog ang isang water main pipe at bumaha sa lugar sa gitna ng winter season sa Estados Unidos. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nasira ang isang 137-meter o centimeter steel transmission line sa timog silangang bahagi ng syudad. Nagit sa 200 katao ang inilika sa kanilang tahanan dahil sa hanggang tuhod na level ng tubig baha na naging yelo naman dahil sa malamig na klima. Kinumpirma ng Detroit Water and Sewage Department na kanilang sasagutin ang magiging danyos na hindi sakop ng insurance ng mga residente doon. Inanunsyo naman ng Great Lakes Water Authority na aabot ng 2 linggo para matapos ang nasirang main transmission line sa Detroit.
Alamin naman po natin kung ano ang pansamantalang solusyon ng mga taga-Cuba pagdating sa pagluluto sa gitna ng krisis ngayon doon sa enerhiya. Ang balita po mula kay Chantel Santos.
Dahil sa madalas na kawalan ng kuryente sa Cuba dahil sa sumusukong power grid sa bansa, bumabali ngayon ng mga pamilya doon sa uling upang makapagluto ng pagkain kakainin.
Día a día aquí, pésimo. La corriente, tenemos, la mayoría de los equipos son eléctricos, no tenemos con qué cocinar, no hay corriente, el gas está escaso, está perdido y las balitas están vacías porque no entra el gas y se pasa mucho trabajo para cogerlo y optamos por cocinar con el carbón, que es lo que nosotros podemos hacer aquí. Comprar los sacos de carbón, que hay personas aquí que hacen hornos y nos venden los sacos de carbón, o si no lo hacemos nosotros mismos ya, y es más fácil cocinar con eso porque si no pasamos mucho trabajo para poder comer.
At dahil mataas ngayon ang demand sa uling, nagmamahal din ang presyo nito.
Malísima, el día entero a veces sin corriente, con carbón y si no con leña. Porque el carbón está encendido, el saco también.
Ang kawalan ng kuryente ay naging pang-araw-araw na realidad na sa maraming Cubans. Ilan sa mga lugar sa bansa ay kadalasang nawawalan ng kuryente higit 20 oras kada araw, mga bayan na malayo sa kabisera. Ang krisis na ito ay dulot ng kawalan ng gasolina at ng nalulumang thermoelectric plants ng bansa. Marami sa mga plantang pinatatakbo ng gasolina ay hindi na gumagana. At ang kakulangan ng petrolyo ay dahilan din ng hindi paggana ng generators na sumusuporta sa power grids ng bansa. Bago matapos ang nakaraang taon, nang bumigay ang ilang power network sa Cuba, 10 milyong residente nito ang naiwan sa dilim. Marami sa mga taga-Cuba ang nakikipagbuno sa hindi maaasahang supply ng kuryente na dahilan ng hindi magamit na appliances. Dahil sa krisis na ito, nagpatupad na ang pamahalaan ng mga paraan tulad ng pagsasara ng mga paaralan at hindi pagpapapasok sa non-essential workers upang mabawasan ang paggamit ng elektrisidad. Kaugnay nito, sinisisi ng Cuba ang Estados Unidos dahil sa trade embargo nito. Ayon sa Cuba, paghihirap sa pag-angkat ng gasolina at spare parts para sa planta ang mga dahilan ng issue sa power grids ng bansa. Chantel Santos para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Bumagsak ang shares ng US retailer na Walmart nitong Huwebes matapos maglabas ang kumpanya ng forecast sales and profit nito na mababa sa expectation ng Wall Street. Si NJ De Guzman para sa balita.
7% ang ibinaba ng shares ng pinakamalaking retailer sa mundo, ang Walmart ng Estados Unidos. Ang nakakadismayang sales outlook ng Walmart para sa fiscal year 2026 ay matapos ang ilang quarters ng solidong paglago na nagpataas ng share price nito sa 72% noong 2024. Ito ay sa kabila ng bagong record na high hit nito noong nakaraang linggo. Subalit batay sa guidance noong Huwebes, humaharap ngayon ang Walmart sa pagtitipid ng mga mamimiling bugbog na sa inflation. Sinasabi rin na nangangapa ang kumpanya kung paanong tutugunan ng mga taripa sa mga produktong galing sa China, Mexico at Canada. Sa kabila nito, sinabi ng Chief Financial Officer ng Walmart na naniniwala siya tibay ng mga mamimili. Bumaba rin ang shares ng kalaban ng Walmart na Amazon at Target. NJ De Guzman para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Triple naman ngayon ang karaniwang halaga ng presyo ng itlog sa Estados Unidos at sinisisi na maraming consumers ang konting supply chain na pinalala pa ng bird flu outbreak doon. Jessica Bautista po para sa report.
Karamihan sa farmers pati na rin retailers sa bansa ay nagpapatupad na ngayon ng limit sa pagbibenta ng itlog. Ito ay sa gitna ng pagtaas ng presyo nito sa buong bansa dulot ng suliranin sa supply chain at ng kumakalat na bird flu. Simula noong Abril, isa na ang namatay at may 70 tao na ang nagka-impeksyon sa US dahil sa bird flu. Nilimas din ng sakit na ito ang may 159 milyon na manok, pabo at iba pang imon sa bansa mula nang pumutok ang sakit sa ibon na ito noong 2022. At dahil dyan, tumaas ang demand para sa itlog kung kaya't nang mahal syempre ang presyo nito na parang ginto. Para sa farmers, suliranin ang sitwasyong ito.
The eggs are like gold right now. The profit margin is very slim because I have to buy the feed is so expensive. And just the cost of maintaining the facilities and everything else, it's just, there's not a lot of money in it at all.
Tulad ng sa ibang lugar sa mundo, may tuturing na isa sa mga pangunahing pagkain ng mga tao ang itlog.
The eggs, you need them for so many things, for so many recipes, for baking, and I mean, lots of people just eat them just for breakfast, but you find out that you need them for so many other things. And it's just a staple, like milk or bread. It's just one of those things that you gotta have it.
Unang na-detect ang bird flu sa Texas dairy cattle noong Marso. Kumalat ito sa iba't ibang estado at puminsala sa produksyon ng manukan at bakahan. Karaniwang hindi tumataas ng $2 ang isang dosena ng itlog. Sa kasalukuyan, hindi bababa sa $5 kada dosena ang bentahan ngayon. Jessica Bautista para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Viral ngayon ang isang video na ipinapakita na ng atake umano ng isang babae ang isang humanoid robot sa China. Mula sa video, mapapansin na nakatayo ang babae sa likod ng isang barrier habang pinapanood ang robot. Nang ilang sandali ay lumapit ang robot at sinubukang i-headbutt ang babae. Buti na lamang ay may nakabantay na security guard sa tabi at naaawat pa ang robot. Pinaniniwalaang ang robot na ito ay pagmamay-ari ng kumpanyang Unitary Robotics. Ang robot ay kilala sa tawag na H1 model na inilabas ng kumpanya bilang bahagi ng Spring Event Gala. Umani ng kabi-kabilang komento ang video kung saan ay tinawag na Terminator ang robot tulad ng sa pelikula, habang ang iba naman ay sinasabing natumba lamang ito patungo sa babae. Wala namang matibay na ebidensya na nagpapatunay na ng atake nga ang robot. Hindi nagbigay ng komento ang Unitary Robotics hinggil sa issue. Itinuturing ngayon ng San Antonio Spurs na isang malaking setback sa kanilang koponan ng hindi paglalaro ng kanilang All-Star Center na si Victor Wembanyama. Inanunsyo ng Spurs medical team na nagtamo ng isang season-ending illness ang Defensive Player of the Year candidate at kakailanganin nitong sumailalim sa medical treatment na tatagal ng ilang buwan. Ayon sa Spurs front office, nagpositibo ang superstar sa deep vein thrombosis o ang pamumuo ng blood sa kanyang kanang balikat. Dahil dito ay pinayuhan siya ng doktor na agad dumaan sa operasyon kaya hindi ito pinaglalaro sa natitirang laro ng NBA season. Ang deep vein thrombosis ang sakit na nagresulta sa maagang pagretiro ng Miami Heat star at Hall of Famer na si Chris Bosh. Ang 7'3" na player ay naging number 1 overall pick ng Spurs noong taong 2023 NBA draft. Mayroon itong average points at 24.3, 11 rebounds, 3.8 blocks at 3.7 assists.
Inilabas na ng Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas o SBP ang listahan ng 12 manlalaro ng Gilas Pilipinas para sumabak sa huling window ng FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers laban sa Chinese Taipei sa February 20. Nanguna si AJ Edu na siyang unang pagkakataon na sasabak sa international competition. Kasama sa 12-man roster sina Justin Brownlee, Junmar Fajardo, Scotty Thompson, Japet Aguilar, Jamie Malonzo, Chris Newsom, Calvin Oftana, CJ Perez, Kevin Kembao, Dwight Ramos at Carl Tamayo. Magiging reserve naman sina Troy Rosario at Mason Amos matapos na hindi sila makasama sa final roster. Magiging kapalit si Edu ni Kai Soto na nagtamo ng ACL injury.
Susunod, larangan ng telemedicine, inilabas ang groundbreaking clinic in a box technology.
Tortang talong pasok sa best egg dishes ng Taste Atlas.
At abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Mata ng Agila World News. Wala pong bibitiw, magbabalik pa ang Mata ng Agila International.
Mula sa Net25 News, ako po si Alex Santos.
At ako naman po si Ali Soto.
Matatag, matapang at matapat na balitaan.
Yan ang aming ihahatid Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 6 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi. Mata ng Agila Prime Time. Dito sa Net25.
Let's net together. Sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Ang mga maiinit na balita
at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan.
Ihahatid namin sa 100%!
100% ang pagbabalita.
100% talakayan.
Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga.
Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila.
At sa Net 25.
100%!
Sa Net 25. Let's net together. Sa Net 25.
Matapos tukuyin ng Estados Unidos ang ilang Mexican cartels na foreign terrorist organizations, nagpahayag si Pangulong Claudia Sheinbaum na lalo nitong iingatan ang soberanya ng kanyang bansa. Si Bernhard Gonzaga para sa balitang yan.
Noong Huwebes, sinabi ni Pangulong Claudia Sheinbaum ng Mexico na maghahain ito ng reforma sa konstitusyon na layong protektahan lalo ang pambansang soberanya. Ito ay matapos tukuyin ng Estados Unidos ang ilang kartel sa Mexico na foreign terrorist organizations.
El pueblo de México, bajo ninguna circunstancia, aceptará intervenciones, intromisiones o cualquier otro acto desde el extranjero que sea lesivo de la integridad independencia y soberanía de la nación, tales como golpes de Estado, injerencia en elecciones o la violación del territorio mexicano, sea esta por tierra, agua, mar o espacio aéreo.
Noong Miyerkules, itinalaga ng US ang Sinaloa Cartel at iba pang Mexican drug cartels bilang global terrorist organizations. Ito ay isang hakbang na ikinababahala ng mga opisyal ng Mexico na tila paghahanda ni Trump ukol sa isang unilateral military action laban sa Mexico, isang ideya ng pinailang lang niya noong kampanya.
Lo que queremos dejar claro frente a esta designación es que nosotros no negociamos la soberanía, como lo dije ayer. Esta no puede ser una oportunidad por parte de Estados Unidos para invadir nuestra soberanía. Entonces ellos pueden ponerles el nombre que ellos decidan, pero con México es colaboración y coordinación, nunca subordinación, no injerencismo y menos invasión.
Ani Sheinbaum, hindi kinonsulta ng US ang Mexico ukol sa pasya nito sa pagtatalaga sa mga grupo bilang terrorist organizations. Matagal nang tinututulan ng Mexico ang hakbang na ito. Ayon sa bansa, ang cartels ay hindi pinaandar ang motibong politikal tulad ng ibang nasa terrorist list. Ang motibo niya ng cartels ay pera. Ang pagtatalagang ito ay sinasabing magpapakomplika ng international business sa Mexico, kasama ng mga operasyon ng mga kumpanyang US. Maaari rin itong pinsalain ang US asylum claims ng mga migrante na nagpipilitang magbayad sa cartels. Pwede kasi silang akusahan na sumusuporta sa isang terrorist organization. Sinabi rin ni Sheinbaum na maghahain ito ng ikalawang constitutional reform na magtataas ng multa sa Mexicans at foreigners na sangkot sa arms trafficking. Ang trapiko ng armas ay isang pangunahing isyong diplomatiko para sa Mexico. Karamihan sa mga baril na ginagamit sa krimen sa bansa ay ipinapasok mula sa Estados Unidos. Bernard Gonzaga para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Halos 2 taon matapos ang debut ng hit na The Last of Us ay inanunsyo na ng HBO ang pagbalik ng hit TV series para sa ikalawa nitong season. Nilabas sa social media channel ng streaming service na Max ang 2 posters na naglalaman ng 2 lead actors na sina Pedro Pascal at Bella Ramsey na may tagline na Every Path Has a Price. Napansin din ng mga tao ang panibagong poster ng isa pang major character na gaganapin naman ni Caitlin Dever. Ang The Last of Us Season 2 ang magpapatuloy ng storya ng hit video game na 5 taong makalipas ng istorya ng Season 1. Mapapanood ito sa Max at iba pang kalakip na streaming service sa ika-14 ng Abril.
Binasura naman ng korte sa Argentina ang mga kasong involuntary homicide sa 3 taong kasangkot umano sa pagkamatay ng ex-boyfriend member or ex-boy band member na si Liam Payne na maaalalang nahulog mula sa isang 3rd floor hotel room ito sa Buenos Aires noong nakaraang taon. Ang desisyon na ipinalabas noong Miyerkules ay inilabas sa publiko noong Huwebes. Ang kaibigan ni Liam Payne na si Roger Norris at 2 manggagawa mula sa hotel na sina Esteban Graci, isang receptionist, at Hilda Martin, manager ng hotel, ay absuelto rin sa nasabing kaso. Paliwanag ng korte, walang sapat na ebidensya upang managot ang mga nasasakdal. Ipinahayag naman ni Norris ang kanyang pasasalamat at sinabi niyang masaya siyang makakauwi na ng United Kingdom upang makiramay kay Payne. Batay sa naging hatol ng prosecutor kay Norris, hindi umano nito inimpluwensyahan si Payne sa pangyayari. Ayon sa korte, walaan niyang kakayahan si Norris upang pigilan ang trahedya. Inilarawan naman ni Norris noong November 2024 na bumisita siya sa hotel ng ilang beses sa araw ng insidente, subalit umalis siya bago mangyari ang pagkamatay ni Payne.
Sa ibang balita, isang tinatawag na clinic in a box ang inilunsad ng isang hybrid care company para makatulong sa telemedicine industry. Ayon sa OnMed, ang kanilang care station ay ang pinakaunang produkto nito na kayang magkaloob ng comprehensive care na walang ipinagbago sa traditional healthcare clinics. Anila, may malaking screen ang care station para sa real-time one-on-one consultations sa mga qualified clinicians. Sa loob ng care station, may nakahandang iba't ibang tools para kumuha ng vital signs ng isang pasyente katulad ng blood pressure, temperature, oxygen levels at thermal imaging. Lumabas din ang care station sa Consumers Electronics Show 2025 sa Las Vegas kung saan itinampok nila ang kakayahan nitong kumuha ng diagnostics, biometrics at iba pang measurements. Sa ngayon, operational ang mga care station sa 5 locations sa Estados Unidos at available rin ito sa publiko.
Inexpensive and quickly prepared, tortang talong can be enjoyed at any time of day as a hearty breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Yan ang nakakatakam naman talagang food rating ng Taste Atlas sa simple yet popular na Filipino egg dish natin na tortang talong na naging second best egg dish sa buong mundo. Binigyan din ito ng 4.4 out of 5 rating ng Taste Atlas. Siyempre naman, sino nga ba ang hindi mai-inlove sa sarap ng lasa ng napakasimple pagkain Pinoy na ito na ang mga ingredients lamang, ito po inihaw lamang na talong at itlog. Tinawag din ng food critics na isang versatile delicacy ang tortang talong at sinabing ito ang pinakamainam na kainin kapag may kanin, kamatis o kaya ay ketchup.
Yan talaga ang mga perfect na pinag-uusapan paggabi, pagkain. Ako,
Perfect sa midnight snack natin,
diba? Eh, diba, Rikki, pinag-uusapan natin yung iba-ibang version ng tortang talong. Sabi mo,
May
sa inyong
probinsya ka
mga
ba?
Ilocano, my mom is from Cavite.
So, meron bang
alam mo
version
naman ang
ang
Cavite,
Cavite?
milig magluto.
Meron ba ang version?
Yung nakalakihan ko is iniihaw yung talong. I think common ba sa atin yun? Kailangan ihawin kasi otherwise ibang-iba yung flavor po kapag steamed lang o nilaga. Wala. Iba yung linamnam ng inihaw tapos babalatan mo yan. Ako sinusuklay-suklay ko siya ng tinidor.
Wow.
Kasi ayoko namang durugin para yung texture nandun din. Bago ko itorta.
Tapos tinutorta nyo na. Sa amin naman, sa mga Ilocano na nagsakrabikan niya ayo amin, mga kabagyan, ito, lumaki ako sa isang napaka-special na Filipino dish. Actually, if you search it, the name of the dish na tortang talong namin ay hango pala sa Hawaiian term. Na, yun, na Hawaiian term.
Yun yung binanggit mo nga kanina, parang ensalada na
Hango siya doon, it means to mash. Ang kaibahan naman nitong aming specialty from Ilocano na tortang talong is like, halimbawa, syempre mag-iihaw. Parang kayo, di ba, iihaw niyo yung talong. Pero sa amin, may extra, may mash kami. In Hawaii, it's called poke. Ayan, so they mash it. And then we add garnishing. We add the tomatoes, sibuyas, and bawang. Gigisa
So parang siyang
yan.
gisado na tinorta.
Tapos garnish with shallots.
So shallots. Sa amin ay sibuyas Tagalog ang tawag dyan.
So siya, pero...
Diba? Sa ating maliliit na yung sibuyas Tagalog.
Pero syempre, iba siguro, hindi ko alam kung nilalagyan niya ng bagoong Ilocano.
Yun si pero kasi naman masarap siya sa kahit anong, ano bang tawag dun sa accompaniment ng mga ganyan. Diba? To complement the dish. Kahit ano bagay, kami toyo't kalamansi tsaka siling labuyo. Pag-uwi, ito na naman kami ni Rikki.
Mainit lang na steamed rice. Okay na sa akin.
Mga 2 hours.
Yan, ako. Tara, Nina. Mamasal na tayo, kumain na tayo ng tortang talong.
Napaisip tuloy ako. Makapag-ihaw na.
Bukas ang umaga, hindi kami midnight snack direct.
Tama, walang pinipiling oras kasi ganun kasarap yan.
Ayan. Sige, magkamagala direct, magpapadala kami sa bahay mo.
Para hindi mo na i-google yung recipe, magdadala kami ng
Tapos,
sample dito.
gawa ka na sarili mong survey direct ha, ano mas masarap? Yung talong version ba from the Cavite region or Ilocano region? Pareho na masarap. Basta lutong
North
Pilipino.
ba o south?
Basta lutong Pilipino ni Nano. So congratulations sa ating mga Pinoy. Tortang talong is the best. Yes, the serve, ikang. Ayan. Akalain mo, Nina? Akalain mo, Nina, Biyernes
just
na.
like that. Pagkibilis-bilis ang panahon talaga.
Mamimiss po namin kayo, pero just for 2 days. Kasi tandaan, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Happy weekend, everybody. Ako po muli si Rikki Mathay.
At ako naman si Rikki, Alagao, Flores na bumabati rin na isang masayang weekend po. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman po sa iba pang mga balitang nangyari rin sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net25 World News. On tonight's headlines. U.S. President Trump's envoy met Ukraine's President Zelensky in Kiev, but officials say the talks haven't yet addressed the deep wartime rift.
Look, President Trump is obviously very frustrated right now with President Zelensky. The fact that that he hasn't come to the table, that he hasn't been willing to take this opportunity that we have offered. I think he eventually will get to that point, and I hope so very quickly.
Prime Minister Netanyahu warned Hamas will pay for failing to release the body of hostage Sherry Bibas, escalating threats to the Gaza ceasefire. Israeli experts confirmed one of the 4 bodies handed over by Hamas was an unidentified woman, not Bibas.
Here's a photo of the Bibas brothers. These perfect children again were 4 years old and less than 1 year old when the Hamas savages snatched them from their mother's arms. She fought like a lioness to protect her boys.
And Italy authorities are warning, but not for the reason you think. Tonight we report on Mount Etna, which has been erupting for days. Officials are urging tourists to steer clear. And the news starts now. Several developments in the Ukraine-Russia war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg. Donald Trump's national security advisor, Mike Waltz, scolded Zelensky for not signing a deal, giving up half the country's minerals to repay U.S. wartime aid. Further aid to Ukraine may end, according to House Speaker Mike Johnson. In Europe, there are warnings not to give in to Russian aggression and questions about whether Russian President Vladimir Putin is really serious about getting a peace deal. Thomas I. Likeness for more.
Tensions are high between Ukraine and the U.S. after President Donald Trump called Zelensky a dictator and said Ukraine started the war with Russia. Zelensky responded by saying Trump is in a bubble of Russian misinformation. The Ukrainian president met Thursday with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg. But the U.S. abruptly canceled a planned news conference after the meeting, offering no explanation. Zelensky did say, though, that he had restored hope after speaking with Kellogg.
General Kellogg, our talks restore hope. We need strong agreements with America, agreements that will really work. I gave instructions to work fast and very much even-handedly. Economic interests and security interests should always go hand in hand, and the details of the agreement are important. The better the details are drafted, the better the result. We spoke with General Kellogg about the front line, the need to free all of our prisoners of war who are held in Russia, and also the necessity of a reliable and well-defined system of security guarantees so the war doesn't return and Russians are no longer able to maim life. We all need peace. Ukraine, Europe, America, everyone in the world.
Kellogg has offered no comment on the talks. In Washington, more harsh words for Zelensky, this time from National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Waltz says Trump is running out of patience with the Ukrainian president.
His frustration with President Zelensky is that you've heard is multifold. One, there needs to be a deep appreciation for what the American people, what the American taxpayer, what President Trump did in his first term, and what we've done since. So some of the rhetoric coming out of Kyiv, frankly, and insults to President Trump were unacceptable.
Waltz says Trump is also upset Zelensky has not signed a deal to give the U.S. a large chunk of Ukraine's rare earth minerals.
President Trump is obviously very frustrated right now with President Zelensky. The fact that that he hasn't come to the table, that he hasn't been willing to take this opportunity that we have offered. I think he eventually will get to that point, and I hope so very quickly.
And it looks like congressional support for Ukraine is waning. Speaking to the Conservative Political Action Conference, House Speaker Mike Johnson hints the flow of money from Washington may be shut off.
There's no appetite for that. What do you think? No. Yeah.
We got our
our answer there?
We have to bring it to an end, and I can tell you that our European allies understand the necessity of this as well.
And while Europe would like to see an end to this war, EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas says she doesn't believe Russia really wants peace. And she says in its haste to get a peace deal, the U.S. is rewarding Russian aggression. Kallas warns about pandering to Moscow.
Let us understand what kind of signal we are sending if we are giving everything on the plate to the aggressor. It sends a signal to all the aggressors in the world that you can do this, because they will offer you on top of it something else.
British Foreign Minister David Lammy is also skeptical of Russia's claim to want peace. Lammy says he saw no evidence of that during discussions Thursday at a meeting of G20 foreign ministers in South Africa.
I don't see an appetite to really get to that peace. And that peace could be achieved by leaving Ukraine tomorrow, just going and letting people get on with their lives and letting them have their sovereignty.
There will be more talks with Trump next week. On Monday, he will meet with French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And as the war enters its fourth year, Ukrainians endure scenes like this across the country, a never-ending barrage of Russian airstrikes. For Ukrainians living with this horror, they dream of peace, but peace that sees the uninvited occupiers leave and their country's borders restored. Thomas I. Likeness, Net 25 World News.
Airlines modified flight paths between Australia and New Zealand after China notified Australia that the People's Liberation Army Navy would hold live fire exercises off the New South Wales coast and international waters, a rare event. Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese told reporters today that the time period for the Chinese Navy exercises had expired, and it was unclear if live fire had been used by the Chinese Navy. A People's Liberation Army Navy frigate, cruiser, and replenishment vessel last week entered Australia's maritime approaches and traveled down Australia's east coast this week, monitored by the navies and air forces of Australia and New Zealand. Airlines were contacted by Australia's Air Traffic Control Agency on Friday, warning them of reports of live fire where the Chinese Navy Task Group was operating.
Well, China issued, in accordance with practice, an alert that it would be conducting these activities, including the potential use of live fire. It's outside of Australia's exclusive economic zone. Australia and New Zealand ships and P-8 aircraft have been monitoring the Chinese fleet while they have been travelling down the coast of Australia, off the coast. I've spoken with the Chief of the Defence Force, the Defence Minister Richard Marles, the Foreign Minister Penny Wong, and I've also had contact with the New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon this afternoon. It is the case that the notice was given. When that occurs, airlines are notified and stay out of the area. Air Services Australia also has been informed and has taken action as well. That time has expired now. According to the Chief of the Defence Force, it has advised that it's not clear whether there was any actual live fire used in this area, but it is consistent with international law.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu instructed the military to carry out an intensive operation in the West Bank after explosions on buses close to Tel Aviv in what Netanyahu's office described as an attempted mass attack. No casualties were reported. The Israeli police earlier said there had been explosions on 3 buses in 2 Israeli suburbs outside Tel Aviv, and that 4 explosive devices had been found. Local media reported the explosions had occurred on buses and depots and were empty.
So unfortunately, I don't have a choice. I need to take public transportation. I was a little bit hesitant. I rely that the people who
you know, who need to take care of it. I understood yesterday they did go through all the buses and make sure, did do the checks that they needed to do. And I was relying on that. Thank God. I do rely that, unfortunately, we have to be always on top of these things, but we need to make sure that these things don't happen. I feel that today we know our enemy a little bit better, and we won't allow what happened 20 years ago on any level to happen again.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel would make Hamas pay for failing to release the body of hostage Sherry Bibas as agreed.
Tragic day. It's a day of boundless sorrow, of indescribable pain. 4-year-old Ariel Bibas, his baby brother, 1-year-old Kfir, and 84-year-old Oded Lifshitz were brutally murdered by Hamas savages. Their bodies returned home to a nation in mourning, a nation that will never forget and never forgive the evil that cut down these beautiful souls. The Bibas children in particular became the symbol of who we are and who we're fighting against. Here's a photo of the Bibas brothers. These perfect children again were 4 years old and less than 1-year-old when the Hamas savages snatched them from their mother's arms. She fought like a lioness to protect her boys. Just imagine their horror. Imagine their confusion. Perfect little children who never hurt a soul. A baby for the love of God. They languished in captivity until Hamas murdered them in cold blood. Who kidnaps a little boy and a baby and murders them? Monsters, that's who. These Hamas monsters also cynically refused to bring back the boy's mother, Shiri, and sent the body of a Gazan woman instead, in brazen violation of the agreement. Today, the heavens shake. The entire civilized world should condemn these horrific murders. The entire civilized world should join Israel in demanding the immediate release of all the hostages. All of Israel is united in grief. And as the Prime Minister of Israel, I vow that I will not rest until the savages who executed our hostages are brought to justice. They do not deserve to walk this earth. Nothing will stop me. Nothing.
Palestinian group Hamas said today the remains of Israeli hostage Sherry Bibas appear to have been mixed with other human remains from the rubble after an Israeli airstrike hit the place she was held in. Now, this statement came after Israeli officials and specialists said that one of the 4 bodies handed over by Hamas on Thursday was an unidentified woman and not Sherry Bibas, whose 2 sons, Kfir and Ariel, were handed over and identified. Netanyahu accused Hamas of acting in an unspeakably cynical manner by placing the body of a Gaza woman in the coffin instead of Sherry Bibas, who was kidnapped along with her 2 sons and her husband, Yarden, during the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. The United Nations Rights Chief, meanwhile, said the parading of the bodies of hostages in Gaza was abhorrent and flew in the face of international law. It's been just 1 month since President Trump was sworn in, and he's already turned Washington upside down. Now he's launched a massive deportation operation, settled scores with those he seems disloyal, and then cracked down on DEI initiatives, both inside and outside government. He's also been cutting budgets across agencies, with the IRS being the latest target, where many workers are now bracing for possible layoffs during the busy tax season. Tonight we ask, what are the unintended consequences of these mass layoffs and spending freezes? At a conservative conference, tech billionaire Elon Musk literally brought a chainsaw to celebrate his Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to help Trump slash the federal government. Musk is touting plans to return some of the money saved back to taxpayers, though that would need Congress approval, as Musk explains.
In fact, the actions that we're taking with the support of the president and the support of the agencies is what will save Medicare, what will save Social Security. Yeah. Because if the country goes insolvent if all the money is just spent on paying interest on debt, there's no money left for anything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm doing this, is because I was looking at the big picture here, and it's like, man, our debt's getting out of control. The interest payments, the interest on the national debt now exceeds the entire Defense Department budget.
It's $1 trillion a year in
Yes.
interest. Just to carry the money that we owe is $1 trillion a year.
Yes.
That is unbelievable.
And rising rapidly. So like, I mean, a country is no different from a person. Country overspends, country goes bankrupt. Same as a person who overspends goes bankrupt. So it's not like optional to solve these things. It's essential.
Meanwhile, White House officials say the Trump administration is preparing to fire many IRS workers. An IRS executive told staff on Thursday that about 6,000 employees, roughly 6% of the agency's workforce, might be terminated right in the midst of the critical tax filing season. Now, this move is part of a radical downsizing effort targeting bank regulators, forest workers, rocket scientists, and tens of thousands of other government employees. In some cases, workers fired for alleged poor performance had previously received excellent reviews. Now, one former employee, Patrick Shea, expressed his dismay.
It was sad. I definitely felt lied to. Like, as we talked about earlier, you know, I had demonstrated a history of exemplary performance at work, and I think just reading that line about, you know, your service has demonstrated that your employment is no longer in the interest of the American people. I think that definitely hurt.
Still, the president shows no sign of slowing down. In his first month, he has signed more than 73 executive orders, with Musk's cost-cutting team operating in at least 18 departments and agencies. Could Germany be heading towards its most controversial elections in decades? Will the rising far-right reshape the nation's political landscape? As Germans prepare to vote this Sunday, 4 candidates vie for the chancellorship in a race that's likely to produce another fragile coalition government. But with the AfD polling second and mainstream parties refusing to work with them, who will actually lead Europe's largest economy? Take a look.
Germany holds a snap national election on Sunday, following the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-way coalition. Another uneasy coalition is the most likely result. Polls predict second place for the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, which is putting forward a candidate for Chancellor for the first time. But no other main party will work with it, so forming a government is likely to be complicated. Here are the 4 candidates for Germany's next Chancellor. Germany's next Chancellor is likely to be Conservative Friedrich Merz. His opposition Conservative CDU-CSU bloc is way ahead in polls, but will need at least one partner. Merz moved his bloc further to the right than predecessor Angela Merkel. Last month, rivals accused him of breaking a so-called firewall against cooperating with the far right, when he passed a motion in Parliament with AfD support on cracking down on irregular migration. He has ruled out forming a government with the AfD. The CDU is pro-market and wants to cut red tape, encourage investments, and reduce energy prices to boost the economy. Scholz's coalition collapsed due to infighting, and his SPD, with 16%, has dropped to third place. But it's seen as likely to return as part of a grand coalition of centrists with Merz's CDU. Scholz presents himself as an experienced leader in command of the details. He rebuked US Vice President J.D. Vance after he endorsed the AfD as a political partner. Scholz favours helping Ukraine fend off Russia's invasion, but has recently struck a cautious tone, emphasising the need for diplomacy. The SPD wants to raise taxes for high-income earners and revive a wealth tax. Alice Weidel leads the far-right anti-immigration Alternative for Germany, which is polling second, but has pariah status among other parties in a country haunted by its Nazi past. Weidel has accused mainstream parties of disrespecting German voters in their treatment of her party. She met Vance on his recent visit to Munich when he endorsed her party, as has billionaire Elon Musk. Vidal is openly gay, but her party has become the loudest voice against LGBTQ+ rights in Parliament. The AfD also wants Germany to ditch the euro, reintroduce the Deutschmark, and potentially leave the EU, and to end weapons deliveries to Kiev and resume good relations with Moscow. The Greens' Robert Habeck is the current economy minister. His party is just behind Scholz's on 13% of the vote. Habeck's Greens want a more open asylum policy, promoting state-backed sea rescue initiatives, and simplifying family reunification processes and enhancing integration. They also want reforms to allow higher public spending.
And the news continues here on Net 25. We'll be right back.
Ang mga maiinit na balita at rumaratsyad ang usapan ng bayan, ihahatid namin sa 100%! 100% ang pagbabalita! 100% talakayan! Lunes hanggang Biyernes! Alas 5 hanggang alas 7 ng umaga! Live na live sa Radyo Agila 1062 Mega Manila! At sa Net 25! 100%!
Sa Net 25, let's get together. Sa Net 25.
And tonight, we report on Italy's Mount Etna, which has been erupting for days. Officials are urging tourists to stay away, not only due to the eruption's dangers, but also because crowds are blocking emergency services. Here's more.
Italy's most famous and active volcano has been putting on quite a show, and it's been drawing big crowds of locals and tourists alike who want to see the rivers of molten lava flowing over a blanket of snow. The crowds are in the thousands, and some are creating problems. Tourists are blocking roads with their vehicles, making it difficult for emergency services to get through. Some are ignoring safety guidelines to see how close they can get to the lava flow, putting themselves in danger.
We are here. This is our territory, with a double role, that of rescuers, because in recent days there has been a large influx of tourists attracted by this lava flow, which rightly is beautiful, but at the same time many people have had problems. Some have hurt themselves, some have fallen while being around here.
Mount Etna's latest eruption began on February 11th. With fiery lava cascading from the newly active Bocca Nuova crater. The area around the volcano has been affected by explosive activity, with ash emissions that have had impacts on air traffic and nearby locations. Italian authorities monitoring the development of the eruption have issued warnings and, in some cases, restrictions on being in the surrounding areas to ensure safety.
People, given the ease of the route to get to the lava flow, ventured inappropriately. In fact, they were inadequately dressed. The last rescues yesterday or before yesterday, the people we found were with cold shoes and hypothermia, and a person who hurt himself last night fell into a snow hole and broke his ankle.
Volcanologists from the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology are studying the phenomena and monitoring the stability of the mountain and its possible evolutions. Standing at approximately 3,300 meters, Mount Etna looms over the town of Catania. It will remain one of the world's most active volcanoes. While eruptions are frequent, they rarely cause significant damage. Bruce Balmeo for Net 25. World News.
The party said it would start preparations to disband and wind up its affairs after a meeting of its leadership amid a years-long national security crackdown in the China-ruled city. Founded in 1994 in the run-up to the city's return from British to Chinese rule in 1997, the Democratic Party grew into the largest and most successful opposition party, garnering strong public support in citywide elections. Under Hong Kong's so-called one country, two systems arrangement, The city is promised a high degree of autonomy and freedoms under Chinese rule. But in recent years, authorities have used the security laws to arrest scores of Democrats and shutter civil society groups and liberal media outlets. An overhaul of the electoral system in 2021 to ensure only pro-China patriots can govern Hong Kong also effectively shut the Democrats out from the political arena, marginalizing them further.
Developing democracy in Hong Kong is always difficult, and it's especially difficult in the past few years. We see a lot of civil society groups or political parties disbanding or dissolving. This is not what we wanted to see. We hope that the one country, two system can be a successful system that can convince Hong Kong people and all the other people in the world that this is a sound system, this is a good system. We don't have that acute finance burden at this point. We can sustain the party's survival for a while if we only look at our account book. But all in all, I think that is a decision that we made, that we consider the overall political environment in Hong Kong and all those future plans that we can foresee, and that is the decision that we made.
In a significant move, the Trump administration has labeled 8 Latin American crime groups, including 6 Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. Now, this list features notorious groups like El Salvador's MS-13 and Mexico's Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation cartels. Now, this designation aims to intensify efforts against these cartels, granting U.S. agencies enhanced authority to combat their operations. Following this action, the Pentagon has deployed unarmed MQ-9 Reaper drones over Mexico to monitor cartel activities. And these surveillance missions, which began under the Biden administration, have expanded under President Trump. The drones can be armed for precision strikes if necessary. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has expressed concerns over these developments, emphasizing the need for collaboration without infringing on Mexico's sovereignty.
First of all, there is nothing illegal. What we have is a collaboration and cooperation that has been going on for many years, not just now. Because today in the national security law, it is very clear what can be done and what cannot be done. And we are evaluating, assessing additional matters for the protection of our sovereignty. Because what cannot be allowed is that they do activities that are not part of collaboration or coordination.
Security experts suggest that this terrorist designation could pave the way for the direct U.S. military actions against these cartels.
Eventually, we may see operations by the U.S. Marines, for example, to capture a kingpin, do drone attacks, or attack a laboratory. We have to see if this is possible. Technically, I think the designation has many deficiencies, and it's still not clear what exactly they want to use the designation of criminal groups as terrorist organizations for.
However, debates continue regarding the potential impact on U.S.-Mexico relations and regional stability. As the situation unfolds, the extent of the Trump administration's actions against these cartels remains to be seen, especially concerning possible military involvement in Mexico, a move not seen since the Mexican-American War in 1848.
Right, inside.
The concept of flying cars has long been a mainstay in the imaginings of the future, featuring in films like Blade Runner, The Fifth Element, and Back to the Future. Now, Aleph Aeronautics believe they are one step closer to making that future a reality. The California-based company has released videos showing their flying car, an ultralight version of the Aleph Model Zero, taking off vertically and traveling over a parked car. Take a look.
The significance of this video is we really hope that it will be
will have a similar impact as the Wright brothers video, in a sense that it proves to the humanity that the new mode of transportation is possible. It has the independently verifiable proof that that this new mode of transportation does work and does exist. And we hope it will start some kind of a new market, new economy for this new mode of transportations, which we call flying cars. For most people, for the general consumer, it's prohibitively expensive because it's expensive for us to produce one. But it's because it's a very low volume production and it's very inefficient. So it's not optimized for manufacturing. As we go further and it will be optimized for manufacturing, and as the volume increases, the end goal, again, that's not going to be the next year or the year after that, the end goal, it should be actually same level or less expensive than Toyota Corolla, Ford Focus, or anything like that, because it's less complex.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.